Hey YA nerds, my name is Kaye and I like to read a lot, and welcome to my YouTube channel where I review YA books. This week we are talking about This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story by Kacen Callender. I'm covering up this part of the book because I actually realized that this book has an old spelling of the author's name on it, which is probably why I got it for 50% off at the bookstore. The book is really neat. I mean, the cover is really bright and interesting looking. You kind of want to know what these two people on the front are doing. You kind of want to know what the epic love story is. And when I bought this book, it was pitched to me. I mean, first of all, it was on sale, so I was like, yay. But it was also pitched to me as like a YA rom-com. So why not? I like normal rom-coms. I like a YA rom-com. Could be fun. The details for this book, it was published October 30th in 2018, so it's almost 2 years old, and is 304 pages. It was also nominated for the Lambda Lit Award for Children's and YA Lit, and that was in 2019. So pretty cool. It was nominated for a really prestigious award with regards to LGBTQ representation in YA Lit. I think it does a good job of that, but we should talk more about it, I think. So this is kind of an epic love story by Kacen Callender. Kacen is a non-binary author. They use they, them pronouns, and they try to infuse all of their books with a touch of some form of queer representation. So this was not my first book that I read by them. I also read Hurricane Child, which is a middle grade novel, which has the most beautiful cover, and I'll put it on the screen because I just can't resist showing you guys my little book cover screen thing going on. I don't own the book. I borrowed it from the librarian. But I did use it in a book panel discussion that I did last summer, and it went over really well. A lot of the librarians who read it absolutely loved that book, and so because of that book, I kind of had a feeling I would really love this book. So the plot for this book, our main character, his name is Nathan Bird, and at the very, very beginning of the book, he has a broken arm. We learn that he lives in Seattle, and that he and his ex-girlfriend are actually best friends. And it makes for a very awkward situation between the two of them because he is still in love with her, but she cheated on him with another girl. She didn't sleep with the other girl, but she did make out with the other girl. That's enough to break up with somebody, in my opinion. But the two of them decided to remain friends, which is a very mature decision to make when you're 16, 17 years old. And so he's kind of living with this thing going on that not a lot of people know about. He can't really talk to anybody about it because his best friend is the issue. And he may still be in love with her, even though she broke his heart. And at this point in the story, he's also dealing with a lot. He's decided that, true love isn't real, and that rom-coms aren't a true, showing of life, I guess, is the phrasing I'm going to use, even though that's not proper grammar. And it's ironic, in my opinion, that he feels this way because he's in a rom-com. Which I think is the point, and, the author is kind of showing us, yes, love happens like this sometimes in reality, even though this is a book. I'm getting away from myself. So he has this drama going on with his ex-girlfriend / best friend, but also his best friend from childhood has just moved home, back to Seattle from Santa Fe. And his best friend from childhood, there is some tension there because Nate may have confessed feelings for him, and then the kid moved away immediately afterwards. Their friendship fell apart. At least I'm pretty sure that's what happens in the book. And now this kid has come back and is trying to be friends with him again. Very interesting dynamics in the book. I like that two of the characters are bisexual, and it's not even or pansexual, attracted to more than one gender. And it's not even an eyelid is bad. Nobody blinks. Everyone's like, oh, cool, yeah, you like different people, fine, awesome. The other thing I really liked is the best friend that moves back home is hard of hearing or deaf. He reads lips, he uses ASL, and Nathan used to know ASL as a child, and so he kind of picks it up again as a way to talk to his best friend. I dabble a little bit in ASL. I'd love to like learn it and take like a full class. So reading this book, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I got really excited about it. I think it's really important to like learn other languages so you can speak to people, but like ASL is such an interesting language to learn, and it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Accessible, adaptable. I work with the public, so like when we do get deaf patrons or hard of hearing patrons, sometimes I try, but I don't know a lot. So obviously from my little bit of signing just now. But I love reading about characters who are fleshed out in this way. They feel very three-dimensional. I could probably talk about all of this more in the review, but so that's really it for the plot. So you kind of have this weird love triangle going on, not just with Florence, Nathan, and Ollie, but also with Florence, Nathan, and girlfriend of Florence, whose name I'm not remembering right now. And then you also have this side issue going on too with Nathan, that his sister's just moved away to college. His mother is still reeling from the death of his father from like 9 years prior or 7 years prior, something like that. It's been a while. And his mom is really controlling because of it. Because his dad died in like some kind of car accident or something. So she never wants Nathan to leave. And the issue of college, when he's going to start applying and where he's going to go, she's making it out like, you're not allowed to leave Seattle. The end of discussion. So he's got a lot of tension going on. And poor Nathan, the only like relief he gets from this is from watching movies, albeit not great movies. He starts off by talking about rom-coms and how much he loves them, and then goes off onto like, oh yeah, but now I'm watching like all these edgy movies that like people love and critical darlings, and part of me was kind of like, watch something fun. Go back to 16 Candles, it's such a fun movie! Minus the racism and sexism and the rape scene. But The Breakfast Club, fun movie, you know, like go back to the fun movies. And he's watching, like, I don't even know, Fight Club, which can be very fun, but he's, like, critical about it. He's watching, like, all those critical movies. So there's not that many tropes in this book, but I have been reevaluating the tropes list because I have nothing better to do. And I've been adding, subtracting, defining them a little bit differently. But as always, it is a list that I kind of made up on my own of different tropes that I found from around the internet. There are also some tropes from fanfiction, because I feel like fanfiction is a valid literary form, and a lot of the tropes that are used there can be used anywhere. I also do want to state, because I did see something recently on Twitter about tropes, I don't consider tropes to be a negative thing. I don't want you guys to think I'm saying like, oh, this is a trilogy, blah. Like, I just want to define books in an easy way so that like if the book has a trope that you love, you'd be able to identify with it and read it. I don't care. I'm not gonna judge a book because it has a chosen one trope in it. Like, it's a trope for a reason. And people use it for a reason. And, you know, if it works, it works. If it sells books, it sells books. So, like, whatever. Anyway, end rant. The tropes for this book are broken family units, enemies to lovers, which is a new one, and you would probably know it about from fanfiction, having Bianca for your sister, love triangles, Mr. Tall, Dark, and Perfect, no car or junker car, and only one friend in the world. And again, I'm going to put the definitions of these down in the description below. Eventually I'll make a video about them, I guess. I don't know. I'll think about it. If you want to talk about tropes, let me know. Leave me a comment. We can talk about them. Or you can reach out to me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is also down in the description. I love tropes. I can't get enough of tropes. So my favorite part, we're going to talk about Readalikes and book recommendations. So Readalikes is a term that's used by librarians. It's when you take one book and you find other books that are like this one book. Kind of also falls into that tropes thing that I talked about earlier, because a lot of books follow the same plot points, storylines, tropes, you can kind of like match them up in that way. If you really love like one book, you'll really love another book. So for me, I'm still taking my recommendations from Goodreads and Novelist. I did, quick sidebar, find a new way of recording books. There's a new website, it's still in beta. It's called The Story Graph. I'll put a link to it in the description. It is run by a smaller team than Goodreads. I'm interested in it because it's not owned by Amazon. I heard it's owned by a black woman. Unfortunately, I can't remember her name because I suck at names and I'm so sorry for that. But she's trying to do something that I think is really important, providing a space away from Amazon's reaches, where you can have a community to talk about books, where you can use it to have a TBR list, which is really what I use my Goodreads for. And you can have this website to like record the books that you're reading, the books that you have read, and also to find book recommendations, because it's really good for that. Unfortunately, it doesn't, as far as I know, I've only been playing around with it for like a day or two, but it doesn't give you book recommendations just based on the title. It will give you book recommendations based on like the other books that you have read, and also like if you're interested in like a certain plot dynamic or a certain kind of character, it will give you book recommendations based on that. So it's really cool. It's a great tool. Not so much for a librarian right now, but who knows? It's still in beta. So give it a test drive, try it out. Could be really fun. And hopefully in the future, in the coming months or years, the website will be complete. It'll be out of beta and it will have other things in it like what I like to use. So let's talk about the Readalikes from Goodreads. So Goodreads gave me The Music of What Happens by Bill Konigsberg. I read this book. I loved this book. Do I think these two books have anything in common? A little bit. I know I'm always really critical of Goodreads, but I feel like their recommendations are just off the mark. But this book's really good. It's about two boys. I'm pretty sure. I read it like a year ago. It's about two boys who, I did look these up recently and then forgot them again. I'm pretty sure this is the book where the two boys are working on a food cart together. I could be wrong. Really cute book though. Kind of rom-com-y, really fun. Also has family drama, so I guess that's where it aligns. At least this is the book I'm thinking of. I'm pretty sure it is. And then the other book that Goodreads recommended to me is You Asked for Perfect by Laura Silverman. I have not read this book. I have seen it. I think the main character is queer of some kind. Not 100% sure. I know that the cover has a really beautiful illustration of a person on it. I think his head is erased. Pretty sure this is the book I'm thinking of. Of course, I'm going to put it on the screen and you're going to tell me if I'm right or wrong. I don't know anything else about this book. Sorry. However, Novelist gave me What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. Loved this book. This is the book where two guys have a meet cute inside of a post office, and then they have like the whole summer to kind of like figure out their feelings for each other, and if the universe is trying to push them together or pull them apart. Really cute. I love Becky Albertalli and I love Adam Silvera. I have read almost every one of Adam Silvera's books. I actually reviewed They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Oh my god, I loved that book. I loved this book. I listened to this book in audio and it was great. So, highly recommend it. And the other book that Novelist gave me was Odd One Out by Nick Stone, which I also read, and ironically, you remember earlier in the video when I mentioned that I did a book talk? Odd One Out was also on my reading list for my book talk because I was covering LGBT books, and Odd One Out was one of the first books that I've ever seen that has bisexual characters in it that are actually represented in a very healthy, wonderful, beautiful way, aside from This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story, because I didn't know about This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story. I knew about Odd One Out. Nick Stone's a really wonderful writer. I love the stuff that she's coming out with. Odd One Out was amazing, mind-blowing. I should probably talk about that in a video at some point eventually. Who knows, maybe I will. But I really loved this book and I loved the characters, and the best part about Odd One Out, in my opinion, and this is going to sound so self-centered and I don't care, was that I gave this book to a children's librarian who doesn't read YA and was like, just give it a shot, just give it a shot, just try it. And she loved it. I was so happy. It's the little things. It's just the little things. So for my review for this book, I kind of mentioned earlier a couple of the things I really loved about this book. I did give it an 8 out of 10, only because there are some books that stick with me. There are some books, like I just gushed about Odd One Out for like 5 minutes before. There are some books that are they just cling to me and I can never forget them and I love them and I keep them. This book was not so much it. I actually had to look up like what this book was about in order to review it today. And by that I mean I also reread the first chapter and the last chapter so that I could talk about this book a little bit better. I loved the book. I loved the rom-comminess of it, and it does have a lot of those like perfect rom-com moments in it. And you know, it has a happy ending and that's really nice. But I don't know, there's just something about it that didn't really like strike me, I guess. I'm a bad reviewer because all I can do is talk in like all these weird things and not give any specifics. So, I mean, the book is nice, the book was cute, but I think that's my problem with it, was that it was nice and it was cute. That being said, Callender is an amazing writer. I know they just came out with a new book. I think it's called Felix Ever After, I think. The cover for that is gorgeous too. These book publishers have to stop making gorgeous covers. I want to buy all the books. But yeah, that book I think just came out at the beginning of June, I want to say, or it's coming out soonish. I would highly recommend that too. Again, I loved Hurricane Child. And the way that Kacen writes books, they are very in tune with the kind of story that they want to tell and with the characters that they want to show us. And everyone is very clearly defined in their role in the story. So those are my very, very positive things to say about it. I'm making it sound like an 8 is a bad thing. An 8 is a good score. It's just because I give all my other books 10s that I feel bad giving this one an 8. 8 is a great score. Good for you, honey. You got an 8. So that's it for This Is Kind of an Epic Love Story by Kacen Callender. As always, feel free to follow me on Twitter if you want to comment on the video and let me know what you think of this book, or if you want to recommend me a book. Good luck. I've read them all. And I think at some point we'll have an introduction video. I need to wait to get my hair cut because it is growing out of control. And then I'll make some kind of channel intro video that I see all the cool people have and I don't have one. You could tell how tired I am doing this. I almost didn't make a video this week and here we are. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. This video has gone on like 5 minutes longer than I meant it to. Sorry. And I guess I will catch you guys next week. I know next week is July, but I'm still going to continue talking about queer books because I love them. I have another queer book also written by I think they're non-binary person of color. I think. I could be wrong. I'll have to look into it. But I have one of those, and I have a couple of graphic novels I want to talk about. I feel like July is something to do with graphic novels. You all know before I do. It's fine. I don't have any information, unless there's a computer in front of me. Anyway, yeah, hope you guys are all having a really good Pride. This weekend is Pride weekend. Yay, even though we're all inside. And I guess that's about it for me. So my name is Kaye. I read a lot. And peace out, YA nerds.